First up this evening, our special focus on the case of 20-year-old Chaitanya Kumari, the nursing student in Kerala who died at the Kozhikode Government Medical College after being in coma for nearly 3 months. The girl, who had alleged miserable treatment by a warden at the hostel where she was studying and staying, had attempted suicide and was in a coma since last December. Hailing from a poor agrarian family in Kottayam district of Kerala, Chaitanya joined a nursing college in Kannagad in Kerala and allegedly attempted to take her life after she was treated badly by the warden, who allegedly denied her even food when she was unwell. Her family has alleged mental torture by the college authorities, and the warden and all other students have also complained about the difficult conditions in the hostel. The police have registered a case and are investigating the matter.
ഈ വിഷയമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് നിയമപരമായ ഒരുപാട് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുണ്ട്. ഞങ്ങളിപ്പം അറിഞ്ഞ സ്ഥിതിക്ക് നമുക്ക് ഈ കുട്ടി ഈ വിഷയമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് ചെയ്തതിന് തെളിവ് കൃത്യമായി നമുക്ക് കൊടുക്കാൻ സാധിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. കാരണം അവിടെയുള്ള കുട്ടികളൊക്കെ കൊടുത്ത പരാതിയിൽ സംശയം മാത്രമേ ബോധിപ്പിക്കുന്നുള്ളൂ. കാരണം വാർഡൻ ഈ കുട്ടിയെ ഹരാസ് ചെയ്തു എന്ന് സംശയിക്കപ്പെടുന്നു എന്ന് മാത്രമേ അവർ പറയുന്നുള്ളൂ. പക്ഷെ അവർ ഉറപ്പിച്ച് പറയുന്നില്ല, ഒരു ഉറപ്പ് അവർ പരാതിയിൽ പറയുന്നില്ല. പിരിച്ചുവിട്ടിരുന്നു സർ, വാർഡനെ ഈ വിഷയത്തിൽ ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് വാർഡനെ പിരിച്ചുവിട്ടിരുന്നു. അതായത് ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ടിനെതിരെ പരാതിയില്ല, ഈ വാർഡനെതിരെയുള്ള ഒരു പരാതിയിൽ നിലവിൽ വാർഡനെ പിരിച്ചുവിടുകയും ആ നിലവിൽ പോലീസായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റേഷനായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട സമയത്ത് അവർ പറഞ്ഞ നിലവിൽ അത് ആത്മഹത്യാ ശ്രമത്തിന് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ നിലവിലെ നിയമസംഹിത വെച്ച് നമുക്ക് കേസെടുക്കാൻ സാധിക്കില്ല. ആത്മഹത്യാ ശ്രമത്തിന് പിന്നെ കുട്ടി മരണപ്പെടണം. അപ്പൊ മരണപ്പെട്ട ശേഷമാണ് മറ്റു കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഇനി മുന്നോട്ട് പോകേണ്ടത്.
Well, so this case brings into focus again multiple issues, concerns over mental health of students, realities in hostels, and the inability of staff to assess and address issues sensitively in time to avert tragedies. A special panel lined up this evening with us. But before we get to the guests, there was another disturbing incident of a PG student in Coimbatore, in a hostel again, who was thrashed for some small mistake he did by a bunch of other students in that hostel. And that video that you're seeing on your screens, which has been morphed to protect sensitivities, has gone viral. So another incident as well there being reported from Coimbatore. Joining me this evening is psychiatrist Dr. Purnima Nagaraj, activist and author Rahul Ishwar from Kerala, Professor C.B. Sharma of IGNOU, and Sanjay Sahai, former ADGP in Karnataka. Rahul Ishwar, first to you, in Kerala, in terms of the conversation around this incident, there are multiple layers to it and multiple concerns that need to be raised, flagged, and perhaps addressed.
Absolutely, Viraghav. There are multiple layers of it. For example, mental health is absolutely one of those. Harassment is an angle that's hotly been debated. And there has been many cases similar to this in hostels, especially youth hostels, that has been accused of harassment, ragging, and the other things. So it needs to be a multi-layered conversation. And Kerala is one of the most educated and literate states of India itself. But having said that, we have issues with mental health. We have issues with higher proportionate suicides. We have issues with higher proportion of drugs and alcoholism and depression. So there is a mental health pandemic, if I can use the word, happening in Kerala, in spite of scoring very high in very many indexes. As a Malayali, I'm proud of my states in many yardsticks, but there are some areas of concerns that needs to be flagged, that needs to be addressed, that needs to be resolved. I hope these kind of aspects will be a wake-up call for Kerala society, who will introspect and take corrective measures in this sense.
Important point that you're making there, Rahul Ishwar, and with the use of the word society, because it's not perhaps, Dr. Purnima Nagaraj, restricted to just one section. One can question the administration, but it's also about largely being sensitive to mental health issues, and also creating an atmosphere in hostels where students come to study with wardens and teachers and others to be aware of the baggage or perhaps the mental health issues that students may be facing, so that they can address it in time and be sensitive towards it. Wouldn't that be a key area of focus?
Not only that, I think another area of focus is the mental health of the wardens and the caretakers, and also the faculty and the academic staff. A lot of them have issues of their own, which they take out on the weaker section, which are their students. So I think even though this is something that cannot be condoned, one must look into the mental health of the people who are around these students. It's not just the students who have mental health issues, it's also the adults around them. And I think while the administration should be sensitive to the children and their needs, the students and their various ramifications of mental health issues, I do believe that there has to be some kind of help or some kind of assessment of people who are in these areas of administration and academies, so that I think a lot of these issues can be prevented. Another thing is psychological support and health. We have been screaming from the rooftops about this since forever, that there should be a counselor or a psychologist, somebody who's not a liaison between the administration and the student, somebody who can actually maintain that 100% confidentiality that we give our clients, and to be able to help them cope with such situations, report such situations without fear, and to be able to speak
Right.
openly about any issue that seems to bother them, and not resort to extreme measures like suicide or self harm or any of these things.
Right, important point that you make there, a multifaceted thing. Professor C.B. Sharma, when an incident of this nature plays out, and just before I came to the panel, we also played those pictures of a student in Coimbatore being brutally assaulted by another bunch of students, and this is not a senior junior issue. It's just in a hostel, a bunch of students, brutally assaulting another student who's done something wrong. Some of these cases get the attention because unfortunate in a case like in Kerala, or because a video goes viral. But is this more the norm rather than the exception? Is this more the rule than the exception? If yes, how do we deal with it?
I don't think this is an exception. Even if one child has lost his or her life, this is not an exception, and we should not take it lightly as an exception. We must get alerted. And this is not the first time a student has committed suicide for one reason or the other. I have different issues to raise. Is managing a hostel a professional job or not? Do we have professionals in the institutions to manage hostels? We put anybody as the hostel warden who understands nothing of managing hostel and leave it to him or her to manage students. And this happens again and again and again, and we discuss on television channels and do nothing about it. Your National Education Policy 2020 recommends that there would be hostels established, especially for girls in the PPP model. Has one hostel been created in last 5 years by any government, central or states? No, because we are not getting votes out of them. Life of students is not important to any government because they don't get votes because of good educational services. This is apathy towards education. Do you understand how difficult it is to bring one girl to higher education? How many girls drop before they come to higher education? Look at the ratio. And if one girl has given her life, imagine what a loss to the nation. We don't get alerted. And this will become a story and then wither out. My question would be, has norms been developed for managing hostels, for establishing hostels, and who would look after them? I'm sure what Madam has raised, the issue of mental health, is very, very important. Students should be alerted. Students should be counseled before they go to live in a hostel. Look at the Western examples. You go and occupy a hostel. Before you occupy a hostel, you are given counseling. How are you going to stay there? Who are your hostel mates?
Right.
How should you behave with them? I have stayed in a hostel in a multicultural, multinational environment. I was given a counseling that, look, you will have students from neighboring countries. I had a Pakistani in my house.
Absolutely.
And we lived very well because I was counseled how to behave, what to do and what not to do. Have you done it? We have no norms for managing
Absolutely.
hostels. We just bring students, dump them, and don't get alerted about anything.
Absolutely.
I believe this must raise questions, and norms must immediately be developed for the central as well as the state government. Let us not make it a political issue because this has happened in Kerala. This could happen
Absolutely.
in Rajasthan or anywhere. So we must get alerted that this has happened to a girl of India, and it's our loss and not a state's loss.
Emphatic point that you've put through, sir, and it's a very, very important point that you're putting through there. This is not about one state or one issue. You're right, it could happen anywhere else. Sanjay Sahai, as an administration, as a system, as an administrator, as a person who has looked at it from that point of view, what strikes you as the key issues? Obviously, there are multiple issues. What would be the most important aspect to be addressed first? Sanjay, you need to unmute yourself, sir. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead, sir. We can hear you now.
So as far as I am concerned, my understanding as an administrator and also a stakeholder into this whole ecosystem is the mental state of the management is most critical and most important. So they are entering the education field for pure commercialization. And it is the commercial interest which reigns supreme, and it also numbs the regulatory authorities. Who are the regulatory authorities? Is the Department of Education in each of the states and at the central government and other regulatory authorities like your CBSE and variety of other things. This I call as the quota effect. So this commercialization is quota effect, wherein only the money which reigns supreme. This particular college where this incident has happened, they say it is a prison-like sort of an environment. How do you create a prison-like sort of an environment and run it across large number of educational institutions across the country, inclusive of coaching institutions, which cannot be primarily called as a regular educational institution. But the behavior, the attitude, the ecosystem is to get as much of money extracted out of the system than that can even be imagined. So this is where we broadly are, which means this particular behavior is completely normalized. The attitude of the management, the way colleges are run, the way hospital administration or this college administration happens, the way a warden behaves with a student, all these things have been normalized. Now she has been detained. What happened from 7th of December 2024? The behavior is known. The girl comes late. She comes late because she was not well and she had gone for medical treatment. How does the concerned hostel warden behave? It is abusive behavior, and then her food is stopped and variety of other things, which primarily means that if the hospital warden decides to be a dictator and play around with the life of each and every one of the inmates, she is free to do that. The other incident which we saw around a month back, I think it was in Kottayam only, where 3 or 4 of these students, they were able to torture these other guys, and that is beyond whatever third-degree torture and other Satya movies which you have seen. It's way beyond that. Correct. And it went on for 3 months. And the hostel superintendent's office is right there. What I intend to tell you is this mental health issue. It is an issue, there is no denying the fact. There should be professional support, there is no denying the fact. But the whole ecosystem is this. You would very rarely get in institutions run by Jesuit missionaries or by Judy Krishnamurti or things of that nature. You understand the genre of institutions I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
We for 5 years in Delhi, in 2 years off the campus. We have not heard of one single incident of this nature. The child also goes to beyond reasonable limits so that the person performs. There is aspirational issue tied with that particular child. So child does not break down just like that. But if you go on and on and on, it becomes a daily rigmarole and the child has to fight it out. Certainly the child will break down somewhere. In this particular incident, I'm also not sure of the fact that proper medical
you're making a very, very important point. You know, you made this point in the last few conversations we've had on the ragging issue as well. It's a very emphatic point you've all made. Rahul Ishwar, I want to ask you about the reaction in Kerala. As a keen observer of Kerala and the conversation, and as you pointed out, it's a highly educated society. There are serious awareness campaigns that are on. Multiple facets come out. Can you give us a sense of the social conversation that's playing out in Kerala, given that there have been these ragging cases, as Sanjay Sahai points out, and this case that's come out?
Kerala is leading India in many yardsticks, and we are very proud of it. But mental health is an arena, Kerala in particular and India in general is lagging behind. And there is a stigma associated with mental health. And many people, for example, they won't go for counseling. Even the word counseling implies that they are mentally ill. So, we need to create new paradigms. For example, call it life skill orientation, call it mentoring. Because, I personally, as an educationist, work on this field. Many times when we request girl child, especially girls, for the counseling, the parents and especially the mothers will say she has to get married at some point of time. Then her husband will say she was mentally ill at some point of time. So there is a stigma associated with the entire thing. So we need to have new jargons, new terminology. You can use any other things, life skill orientation, mentoring,
Right.
any other things. And we have to address this in a deeper way. And Kerala Police former DGP C.B. Matthews, who was also the Information Commissioner, has done a wonderful book regarding Kerala's heightened sense of suicide, heightened figures of suicides, alcoholism, drug abuse. For example, Kerala, even comparatively very small state, is very high on alcoholism, is very high on drug abuse. One of the largest MDMA halls in India regularly happens in Kerala. So there is a serious mental social issues that goes under addressed because of the stigmas associated with it. That's the reason why we need to destigmatize it. We need to include it in the educational curriculum and address positively without invoking the stigmas of being mentally ill.
Absolutely, and this is not something restricted to Kerala. It's a wide, across the nation phenomenon, in fact, across the world phenomenon. Dr. Purnima, we have just 2 minutes left. 30 seconds to you to start with. In terms of, if you want sustained action categorical, what would be the top 3 things on your list?
The first thing I would say is to stop normalizing abuse and call it discipline. The second thing is, let us not get into the depth of a situation without understanding. See, if she came late, you ask her why she came late and probably deal with it with the administration. So the same way, I think the administration and the lower staff as well as the hostel staff should be, talking to each other and also talking to the students. Have a place where students can go and voice their concerns, or even an anonymous box where they can voice their concerns, and please deal with it.
Right. That's your point, Professor Sharma. 3 points that you think should happen very briefly. The top 3 points.
The first thing I would say is that develop a national norm for managing hostels, and only those who are professionally trained and understand what is a hostel for students should manage it. Second, the universities have absolutely no interest in managing because they don't make money out of it. This must become an independent activity of institutions, not conjoined with the head of the institution. Third, in such incidents, there should be very harsh punishment, because every loss of my student, my child, is my loss, and we are pained. So there should be strictest
Absolutely,
action.
emphatic points. Sanjay Sahai, very briefly, last 20 seconds, 3 points or 1 point above all that you think needs to happen immediately.
Very intensive training of the people who are handling this, which means basically your hostel wardens and the connected ecosystem. And that training should be clearly connected to the learning outcome. The second is a psychological support for the student. And third, if it continues, if the regulatory authority finds that things continue in the manner they do, deregistration of the educational institution till the time it is set right.
Absolutely. Fantastic points from all 4 of you. We hope this issue will be addressed in all its seriousness, in all its layers, and not just from one dimension of it. Thanks to all the 4 panelists for joining us this evening.